So, Luciana, um, we're very happy to welcome you here at I.D.E.A.L, and we would like to ask you a few questions about your your connection to prenatal education, and maybe you can start with telling us a few words about you and about how you are involved in that field.
I was involved with this universe of nutrition since the age of 13, 14, when I discovered this whole universe. I wanted to know all about it and to apply it in this prenatal dimension of life is so important. I understand that biological nutrition is the raw matter of all our structures, so that we can form adequately a being. This woman needs to be strong, empowered in her work of labor, of breastfeeding. Her nutrition will be paramount.
Well, thank you very much. Now, with your experience and what you've been exposed with different people you've been meeting and couples and pregnant women, what would be some essential points that you've noted to be so important and so maybe not so much known from all those people? What advice would you give to pregnant women or couples that are in the process of having a baby?
This time of pregnancy is a unique moment, a precious moment for every couple and for the baby who is about to arrive. Pregnancy is the time to look at nutrition as one of the big pillars of this new life. It's fundamental that couples understand, look at this adequate nutrition as a key point, basic point of the development of this life.
And what place do you think nutrition can have in this process of pregnancy?
As a raw, basic matter, the food will allow for the cellular formation, all the biochemistry, all the physiology will need the nutrition, the nutrients. It's so important for the baby who's in formation, who's developing, but as important as that is the nutrition of the mother. I know that the baby, for instance, will take everything he or she needs from the mother, but the mother needs to be well nourished. For instance, if she does not want to have postpartum depression, when you have a deficiency in certain omega-3 oils, for instance, the child will take whatever he can in order to build the brain. So the mother cannot go into a deficiency because she gave the omega-3 oils. She cannot be deficient in that, because at the end she might have a depression after the birth. It will disturb breastfeeding, for instance. It might even be contrary to the acceptance of this child. So nutrition is really paramount during pregnancy.
Would you, what are the main or the most significant scientific discoveries since the last 5 or 10 years that really supported this care for nutritional, I would say, awareness during pregnancy that you could share with us?
In the last 20 years, we can see that there was, what we found out was about metabolical imprint. All this food, the mother food intake during pregnancy will convey information to the molecules of the child. When the baby develops in the womb of a mother who is not well fed, and especially eating junk food, the child later on will reject the good food. The palate of this child has already been molded towards artificial flavors. This child does not recognize the flavors that nature has devised. It's a huge crime that we have been committing against these new generations who are arriving on earth. We do not pay attention enough to the mother's food intake. The palate of the child is already being formed in utero during pregnancy.
And probably you've been in contact with a lot of teenagers or young adults, and from the different experiences you've been having, do you think there will be some few words for them that would be quite appropriate?
It's possible to re-establish the connection with life, with what nature has given us, in spite of this modulation, having been wronged during pregnancy or first years of life, when your parents were not conscious. I would tell the teenagers it's always possible. We are biological beings and we change cells on a daily basis. We're not today the one we were yesterday, so it's always possible to change our cell structures with an imprint new information. When a teenager, for instance, understands the importance of nutrition in his life or her life. At first it will be difficult, yes, because the palate will need to be remodulated. But it is possible. It takes work, but it's always possible. We have a huge deficiency of a structure. We eat so many more chemicals that we should, which is not real food we eat anymore. We have edible things, but not real food. So teenagers have sometimes to relearn what is real food and what is junk. Teenagers should not consider their bodies like a trash can, and the raw substance for a better life with more creativity and vitality, that's in his hands to establish.
We talk a lot about empowering women at many levels.
Yes.
And this prenatal moment is one of the most precious moments for them to be really empowered and really owning their body and all the processes that takes place during pregnancy for the benefit of their baby, for sure. Would you have some comments or some particular experiences that would go along this empowering process that pregnancy can give to women?
Yes.
We speak a lot about empowering spiritually, psychologically, but we also need to empower women biochemically. It's important to integrate all these forms of empowerment. When a woman is empowered mentally, spiritually, in order to bring forth a child here on earth, she needs also to be well nourished so she can have the strength in order to sustain this moment that is so important. It's a huge demand of energy, vitality. Nutrition will give this woman this feeling of empowerment. The first pregnancy, I see that very often, where there wasn't any kind of accompaniment, when the woman did not allow herself to live in her pregnancy in an empowered way, then comes a second pregnancy and she brings forth this empowerment in all levels. And in the way, even when she includes biochemistry, then it's totally different. Her joy of seeing herself as the one who knows she is able to bring forth life. She took care of her own life to begin with. If she takes care of her own life, of her own being, then she's able to bring forth the other with all the strength.
It's always a subject that inspires us to think about what will be the future. What are our dreams about prenatal education, about couples, about a new society? With that understanding, with that knowledge,
Yes.
with that with that engagement towards better families, and along that dream, what do you see coming for the next 5 years or 10 years in this field of prenatal education?
We have two directions very clearly defined that are possible. The first one, we don't want to focus much on it. People who do not see, they do not want to take that path. But there's also another way. All those who are working to bring forth this consciousness of the importance of conscious conception, the importance of conscious nutrition. I see that this consciousness is getting greater and greater. I have been receiving more and more people interested in this theme, how to have an organism well nourished, that it can gestate in an adequate form this new being. We're living a moment where really there are different ways we can choose, and on one of them we need to choose nutrition in order to take on the correct path. It's so clear in my vision. We see that the system dictated by the food industry is really a failed system. We need now to make up our minds and go back to the simple, go back to life. We should not need to have a professional like myself. Theoretically, to eat, it's a physiological, innate, instinctive act. We shouldn't have any doubt as to what to eat. But unfortunately, in the last years, the food industry has been messing up in our minds. You need to eat so much that product I have manufactured. And people got lost in the very basic, in the simple, to identify a food spontaneously. So, for instance, you take a child who was not well nourished since the beginning, and you put this child in front of a table where there are fruits and or snacks like junk food, and the child says, one cannot compete with the other. My palate is already modulated for this junk here. This one is tasteless for me. And that's a crime. It's a big turning point we need to bring about for these new generations who are arriving. We cannot go on this way. Science has been telling us that we need to live longer to get to the age of 100, but I don't believe so. Right now, when I see what these new generations are eating, I don't see them getting to the age of 50. So we need to be very responsible, to be very strong. We need to work for the change of this paradigm, because this paradigm, the one we are now, has failed.
Luciana, would you have some personal experiences with some patients or in your family or for yourself that would be quite useful for people to understand more deeply the importance and all the elements that surround prenatal education?
Muitos exemplos é muito simples.
It's quite simple. I think not only during pregnancy, time of conception or preconception, not just during prenatal life, but the understanding as a whole of the being we are, what nature has given us. Nature has given us everything we need to be a complete human being. My work is always to bring this information, this memory, because we know it already. Our cells know what they need. But we are blind. We are hooked in not seeing the essential. We have forgotten. When we are back in touch with this essential, automatically the body says, this is what I need. There's a whole reconnection and an immediate answer from the body with much joy when it receives the information it needs. For instance, through a good food. You ask 10 people who eat very badly, in a place where they're going to spend many days to eat very well, with the whole integration, not just the food, of course. And it's amazing that 10 people will tell you, I did not know how important it was for me to eat well. I worked with teenagers for a while, groups that would go for a whole month on vacation. It was a kind of a spa. And it was amazing. These kids had never seen some foods. They had never seen a cauliflower. So to get in touch with that, it's quite simple, quite beautiful, as everything that is simple.
The prenatal education world is really vast, and you're involved through different ways, through nutrition with different groups of people. In this involvement in supporting prenatal education at many levels, what really inspires you the most? What really helps you to really connect with that kind of source of inspiration that you have in your heart? Could you tell us a few words about that source of inspiration?
A vida em si.
Life itself inspires me. That's what really, really inspires me, this respect towards life, this reverence for life, to honor our biological body who was given to us, integrated with nature, and everything happens in such a perfect way. Our trillions of cells know what to do. There's no need to command them. The only thing we really need to do for them is, from a point of view of nutrition, is to bring good raw material, and everything else will be done perfectly. This is how we were programmed to live in a very perfect way. Every cell we have, a cell that produces hormones, a cell that makes the liver work, the pee to come. Each cell knows what to do. They're absolutely beautiful and perfect. They need to receive good nutrients, good raw life, good information from nature, and then everything flows in a perfect way. There's nothing else we should do.
Luciana, thank you very much for all those words, for your inspiration and your dedication in that field. It's so precious that there will be people all around the world that will be dedicated and sensitive to that so fundamental subject for this new humanity that we are working on and hoping for as well. Would you have a last word or a last comment that you would like to share with us today?
Okay. Acho que é hora de despertar.
This is time to wake up. We need to get out of this blindness, this laziness.
Quase uma
It's almost like a feeling of mortality that we have succumbed to in these last times. This disconnection, a disconnection that we are going through with life, and it's about time to wake up. The time of blindness is over. Let's take the reins of our lives in our hands. All of us, humanity. My wish is that we can take those reins in our hands and discover that everything is perfect in us. We just need to go back to integrate with all this life that was given to us, that so beautifully is given to us every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Luciana, for this sharing, and hopefully we'll see you very soon in other ways to even learn more about what you do. And